Oh, hey there. You know what really revs my engine? The smell of hot sauna benches after wrestling practice. The sound of a hand slapping a bowl of Jell-O repeatedly. And hot, sweaty abs that stack like Lego bricks. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about long curled toenails that dangle on the ground in front. The feel of sand as it wedges its way through each orifice. And big, bold, glacial cut abdominals that reach out and beg for a tongue bath. I wouldn't bullshit you. And you shouldn't be bullshitted on. That's why I purchased the No BS 6-pack formula from Mind Pump. Those guys give it to you. Ooh, the No BS 6-pack formula. Available now over at mapsfitnessproducts.com.
If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump. With your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode...
You do the Bill Cosby voice every time?
episode... Does that sound like Bill Cosby every time?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's the Jell-O pudding. In today's episode, the boys and I talk about... For the first 52 minutes, we get into, Sal...
our usual introductory conversation. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah. Usual.
I'm giving you an assist
anything
today.
but usual.
We started out by talking about Bruce Lee, the martial artist and the philosopher. There's a lot more to him than just his movies. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, me too.
I nerded out on him. Then we talked about the changing Mind Pump style. Apparently, my clothes are starting to look a lot better. Thanks to Vuori.
Thank God.
They are the clothing company that we are sponsored by. It's like, God, I don't know how to explain their clothing. It's like Lululemon, but for men and better. It's pretty awesome. If you go to
way better.
Vuori Clothing, VUORI, clothing.com/Mind Pump, you'll get a fat 25% off your order. Then we talk about Justin's milk test. He was testing out milk.
Yeah.
And realized that it gave
Fail!
him the poops.
Yeah.
Four Sigmatic charcoal lemonade to the rescue. Actually prevented him from shitting all of his brains out. We are sponsored by Four Sigmatic.
Yes, thank you, Four Sigmatic.
If you go to Four Sigmatic, that's FOURSIGMATIC.com/Mind Pump and use the code Mind Pump at checkout, you'll get a discount. Then we talk about a new study that links penis length to fertility.
Yeah.
That's right. Smaller wang, less chance of having a child. Crazy.
That's weird.
Then we talked about Banksy's self-destructing art. Oh, that crazy guy. He's so artsy.
He is.
Campbell Soup's fresh food fail. They actually went into the fresh food market and have lost a shit ton of money.
When you think Campbell's, you think fresh.
Then it was a convenient place to mention Thrive Market, the largest online retailer of non-GMO and organic products, including skin products and cleaning products. If you go to thrivemarket.com/Mind Pump, you get 1 month free membership and 25% off your first order.
They have so much good stuff, Sal.
Then we talk about bodybuilding.com and Amazon. Is Amazon destroying them? Think so. Then we talk about a series on Netflix called Hold the Dark and another series on Prime called The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Both recommendations from Justin and Adam. And then, you know what, Justin?
What's that?
We get into the questions.
Oh, yeah.
First
the best part.
First question was, what should a 17-year-old do? Should they get into a bulk or get into a cut, or should they do both simultaneously? Is that possible?
I think so.
Next question was, what would be the most appropriate rep ranges or workout phases for cutting and for bulking?
Lots of bulk cut talk this time, huh?
Yep, Justin loves that.
Yeah.
Loves it. Next question was, what would we say is the most important muscle or muscle group for peak athletic performance? So if you want to be a masterful athlete, if you want to move like an explosive bomb,
it's not the bicep.
Which muscles should you focus the most on? And finally, last question. This individual has been working at a big box gym for 6 years and sees personal trainers who've been training clients for a very long time who don't seem to be making that much progress. Who's to blame, the trainer or the client? And is anyone to blame? Should we be angry about this? And we go into this question actually quite deep when we talk about what your job really is as a personal trainer. If you want to be a successful long-term personal trainer, you will not want to miss that part of this
Great
episode.
discussion right here.
Also, this month, MAPS Aesthetic. This is the bodybuilder and physique competitor and bikini competitor inspired MAPS program. 50% off. We took the total price, of course, cut it in half. That's it. And you get lifetime access. This is crazy. I think this is the only time we've ever had MAPS Aesthetic 50% off.
It is, Sal.
If you go to mapsblack.com and use the code BLACK50, that's BLACK, the number 50 at checkout, the price will be cut in half. You'll pay
It's
50.
not just for competitors, Sal. I want to look awesome sometimes too.
That's very true. The program is aesthetic focused. So the way we designed the program was we designed it in a way where you could sculpt and shape your own body. You pick out the body parts you think you need the most development, and you put those body parts in your focus sessions. That is a proprietary aspect of MAPS Aesthetics. You kind of construct it yourself to shape and sculpt your own body. And that's why bodybuilders and bikini competitors and physique competitors love MAPS Aesthetic. Again, mapsblack.com. Use the code BLACK50 for 50% off. Also, if you want to check out our other MAPS programs or our bundles, go to mapsfitnessproducts.com. Do you guys remember the chair at the end? I don't remember which Conan it was, but at the end of it, he's sitting in that big king chair.
Like a Game of Thrones chair?
Yeah, and he's got
That's
like
the chair. I want that. Dude,
he's got like a lion skin over him.
Please.
Is that the one you're going to like buy for your seat in here in the studio?
Please.
Somebody
Is that
needs
what
to
you're
have
talking
it.
We talked about this a long time ago when we moved from the last studios. I really want us to have our own custom mic and our own custom chair.
Yeah.
Like you could have that one. I'll have the Game of Thrones one. I'll have the Game of Thrones.
That's like going to be uncomfortable as fuck.
I don't care, dude. This is so cool as fuck.
I want a float tank. I want a podcast in a float tank.
We can't see you then.
Hey.
Oh, I like to see your. I like to see your pretty face when we're
floating.
talking.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see my pretty face. That's why I podcast, Adam.
Yeah, you have a face for radio.
Face for radio. I'd prefer to have a face for radio than a mind for TV or whatever. Is there such
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, those idiots. So anyway, dude, I got a quote for you guys that my girl just posted. I think it's
She's been on fire lately. Somebody must have ruffled her feathers or something because she's on one.
Yeah.
She's on one, dude. Her page is, what's her page? The Training Hour.
You don't know
can
your
read some
girl's
of
page.
So you could read some of these.
You almost got in trouble there, dude.
I know her as Jessica.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a really good quote. I never read this quote before. Never heard it. Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior, but nobody is equal either. People are simply unique, incomparable. You are you, I am I. Fucking brilliant.
Wow.
I've never heard I never heard that stated so eloquently.
No, I bet you Dr. Seuss has a good quote on that too.
Yeah, red fish, two fish.
Yes, I bet
Blue
you.
fish,
I bet you. I'm
green
gonna
fish.
Google that right now while you guys are talking.
Dr. Seuss.
I love Dr.
Let's
Seuss.
pull up
dude.
some more quotes.
Arguably the best philosopher of all time, in my opinion.
He is. So I have another quote. Tell me this doesn't apply to our philosophy around fitness. And then if you guys can guess, shit, let's see who's going to, I bet Justin's going to pick it up. But sometimes Adam's a surprise. Sometimes he knows what's going on. Let's see who knows who said this quote. Doug, you can't play because you're going to guess right away. You ready?
It's old, huh?
You ready? And now this quote totally encompasses our philosophy around fitness. Pay attention, Adam.
I'm listening.
Okay. Don't read Dr. Seuss anymore.
Sorry.
you got all into it for a second.
I love Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Let me hear.
Don't get set into one form. Adapt it and build your own and let it grow. Be like water. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless like water. Now you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Oh my God.
Confucius.
God, you guys don't know who that is? That's Bruce Lee.
Oh, I would have
Be
never
like
got
water.
that.
Yeah.
That's like one of his most famous quotes ever.
No, I would have never got
Bruce
that.
Lee was.
I wasn't as big of a Bruce Lee fan as you guys were.
Oh.
And that's just because I think I'm younger.
Because you're younger.
Yeah.
It's not like Bruce Lee movies came out when I was a
1
kid.
year younger.
Yeah, I wasn't a kid.
You never watched Enter the Dragon? And
No, I
just
did.
Got super inspired.
No. I did. I watched, but I didn't watch. I mean, I think Sal watched a lot of him. I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, so I that's how he said water.
That is
I
true.
loved watching Bruce Lee films, but there's more to Bruce Lee than his movies. So I watched, and by the way, I've been trying to message his daughter. I would love for her to get on the show so we could talk to her about.
Oh, that'd be a good one. Yeah.
Actually, let's enlist the fans. You know,
Yes.
I mean, we got fans for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Go harass.
Go-
don't
no, not
harass. her.
harass.
Don't harass her.
Contact.
They're not
Ask her
fans.
nicely.
They're friends.
Yeah,
Friends.
yeah.
Ask her nicely. We want to
Yes,
interview her so we can talk to her about.
We'd like to get some
about
history.
Bruce Lee because he's a badass.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, me and my cousin, we used to watch kung fu films all the time. And one of the things that we would do is every once in a while we'd sleep over at my grandparents' house. And my grandfather's thing was he did two things for us. At night, he would drive us to the video store. Kids, this is back when you used to have to go to a video store to rent videos. We went to his place called 1 Hour Photo Drive Up. I don't know if you guys remember that place.
Somebody did a post. I saw one of our listeners did a post on a Blockbuster meme, and it was like, "Some of you will never know what Friday nights look like."
Yeah,
here.
exactly. It was a whole thing.
It was-
Walking through like all these titles.
No,
like,
it wasn't.
It was fun.
Was
Yeah,
that not
it
like
was good.
for me? It was like a date night thing. Like I don't know how many dates I'd taken on a Friday night to go. And part of the date was like picking a
Then
movie
you
out
get your
together.
junior mints.
You know right away if it's a
and
chick you could
popcorn
date.
at the end.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Totally.
saying? By the
Totally.
types of movies she was looking at, like,
One of the-
oh, man. I don't know
Yeah,
how many
you're like,
times.
Ooh, that was your choice.
Oh God.
So my
Terrible.
grandfather would take us to the video store, and we would always want the kung fu films, and we'd pick them all out.
Hell
I've seen
yeah.
them all. I've seen all the Drunken Master
I
and
love that
freaking
one.
weird
Yeah.
shit, and then of course Bruce Lee. So me and him were into Bruce Lee, and then I started reading the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. This is the philosophy of the martial art that Bruce Lee wrote. Now I bought the book thinking I'm going to learn fucking Jeet Kune Do, and I'm going to learn how to fight. It's actually a philosophy book more than anything.
From a book.
Yeah, he's cause I was a kid, bro. He was
through pictures, like
I know.
images.
dude. I was practicing in the
I was
backyard.
more of a video guy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So no, he was a philosopher, and his
Very cool.
his philosophies around training and martial arts and life were so radically different. People don't realize how different he was. Like the stuff he was talking about. Remember in those days when he came to San Francisco to teach kung fu, it was
it was
a very
blasphemy.
Yeah, dude, you weren't
Yeah,
supposed
he
to
was
teach white.
ostracized
You
for
weren't
that.
supposed to teach white people or anybody but Chinese people weren't supposed to learn.
Well, not only
these
that,
arts.
he incorporated other methods, and started to do like the real mixed martial arts. He was like one of the first.
He
to
was the
kinda
first
combine
one.
them. Yeah.
You watch, that classic how he holds his hands up and he like he does his nose with his thumb, like he does that thing and he bounces around.
Right.
He learned how to dance from boxers, so he would watch boxers fight, and he loved how boxers were so fluid in the way they moved. Because when he learned kung fu, it was very rigid.
Yeah.
There were forms and styles, and he used to say like, I don't
Mantis.
I don't follow a style.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't hit, it just hits on its own type of deal. That was his philosophies. Really cool stuff.
I feel like we're kind of like the Bruce Lee of podcasting.
That's my point. That's what exactly what I'm trying to
Bruce
say.
Lee of fitness.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we're just
We're
as-
water.
Yeah, we're like water.
We're water.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, that's why he was so awesome. So I know a lot of people know his movies, but the dude was he was a brilliant philosopher. You know what I mean?
So I wanted to tell you.
he did bodybuilding. You know how he was super into bodybuilding. You guys know that,
yeah.
right?
I said, I didn't know all this stuff about him. I feel like, can you please give me like a list of either books or movie rentals that I can get enlist in and actually watch so I can get caught up on the Bruce Lee knowledge
dude,
here?
I'll watch Bruce Lee with movies.
I've done that. I've watched Enter the Dragon and his other, like he's got 2 or 3 like the big ones, right?
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
think everybody's seen. I've seen those too.
Yeah.
But I need the deeper shit.
He was
give me the philosophy.
He was totally into bodybuilding too. He got trained and bought these bodybuilding because he believed in developing his muscles and his body. And do you know his movies inspired bodybuilders for years? Flex Wheeler got into bodybuilding because of Bruce Lee.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because
Really?
Bruce Lee in his movies, he would do this lat spread. Remember, and you hear his bones crack, like, and he'd do this thing. And Bruce and Flex, remember, Flex was a martial artist.
Yeah.
So he watched that.
That's
and
right.
That's what
Well, he
really
was
got
one of
him.
the ones that after he would get in a lift, he would actually like irradiate and do this like full body tension poses and stuff, which was like, brilliant.
Bro, you're so into tension.
Yeah.
That was Bruce
He was
Lee's-
like the guy. Yeah. For me, I always reference him as one of the masters.
So
of
he
that.
wasn't the strongest dude in the world, but he had this ridiculous static strength. Apparently,
No, but he was because he was like using all of his central nervous system.
yeah. Well, he was really strong. I mean, he was only like $140, right? He was super
He
light.
just knew how to channel all his force in one direction.
he would be able to hold. I believe. I hope I'm saying this right. This is from people who wrote about him. 120-pound dumbbell at arm's length.
yeah.
And he would
Straight
hold
out.
just tension.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just straight tension.
Yeah.
He also had a 200-pound heavy bag that he could kick and swing that thing so that it hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
So he'd kick it with so much force that it would swing and hit the ceiling, and people would just like trip out over it.
What?
Yeah, isn't that cool?
These aren't urban myths, though. Are
No,
they?
that's real.
The one that I'm wondering.
I remember one time he
remember
disappeared.
the nunchuck ping pong video
fake.
that went. Yeah, right. That's fake. But it's like it's so depressing because everybody, totally like puts him up there.
No,
as
he
this
was
mythical beast.
He was still human,
Yeah.
and if he fought in the UFC, he'd get his ass kicked.
yeah, exactly. I know that's the
But he was a brilliant mind.
unpopular reality.
When I was a kid, I thought he could beat up. I was like, Bruce Lee could take on 100
he's-
people.
yeah.
No problem. And you think he's inhuman?
Kill anybody.
No, but he's not. I also thought John Clav.
I'll tell you what, Chuck Norris could kick some ass though.
Chuck Norris. What? So
Chuck was legit.
So Chuck Norris was in the which one was it? Return of the Dragon.
Return of the Dragon. That was the epic
you-
showdown at the end.
Yeah, did you ever watch that, Adam?
Yeah, I've seen it. Those are
in
that's
the
one
arena.
That's one of the main three, right? Enter the Dragon, Return of the Dragon. What's the other one? There's three like big.
There's the
Bruce Lee-
Chinese Connection.
Nope, not that
Game
one.
of Death.
No.
Game of Death. Yes.
There's
one more that I know I've seen. I don't know the name though.
God, I can't believe I
I
can't
don't know, but I
remember.
remember the Green Hornet, and it was stupid because
Oh,
he
he
was the sidekick who just
Kato.
kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah, he
You're
was
like,
Kato.
why is he the sidekick?
Yeah, he should be the main guy.
Yeah.
He in the one where he fights Chuck Norris. Remember when he grabs his chest and then pulls his hand off? And,
rips off his chest hair.
because Chuck Norris was hairy as fuck.
He is a hairy beast.
So Chuck Norris there was an interview that I read in Black Belt magazine years ago, probably in 1994 or something, and he wrote about sparring with Bruce Lee in between the scenes, and he's like, he goes, he was as fast as everybody said he was. He was a pretty much. Remember, Chuck Norris at the time was like a karate champion.
Yeah.
He was a badass
International.
Yeah, international
he
karate
fucked
champion.
shit up.
So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
You know, yesterday not to switch subjects, I was trying to tell you that yesterday I met with Taylor, and we were just kind of going over the podcast heart event, and man, I think Doug got like 1,000+ photos. Taylor got like 1,000, 2,000 photos. Eli, Anna, like they all. I mean, we must have 5,000+ photos we went through, and Taylor was complimenting like how handsome you guys looked. He's like, man, I was so
How handsome we looked, or how handsome you looked?
no. Like
He didn't throw you in there.
No, he doesn't. He never compliments me.
Wow.
He doesn't.
And you're right there.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's
It's like-
disrespectful.
I gotta
think
talk
that's-
to him about
yeah,
that.
Yeah. No, it just he's
gotta give
going.
you your props.
He's going through all the photos and he's looking at just how well dressed everybody is, and it's going like, oh man, look how sharp the boys look and everything. And I'm like, well, it helps when you dress them. I think.
Well, part of his motivation for signing us with Viore was exactly that.
Yes.
He used to. He look at I'm like kryptonite for someone like Taylor. Like I'm super. I can imagine how annoying I must be because I really don't give a shit about the stuff that he
Right.
finds super important.
Yeah.
Not that I don't find value in it. I find tremendous value, but when it comes to
He
myself,
almost has to lay it out in front of you, like right before you get going.
Dude, can I just tell you something right now? And my girl listens to this podcast, so maybe this is a subtle message. I would love it if I just woke up in the morning and my clothes were picked out for
Wow.
me. Like that would be so awesome. Anyway,
that was a little hint.
but he, since he signed, that's one of the reasons why he signed us with Viore is because he used to get us on his nerves when I would show up to work. And
no, he has changed the look of us, just like in a subtle way. Like little like comments here and there, like oh wow, look at and wearing the Viore shorts and everything. It really does.
He's trying the positive association.
Well, in his
bring
defense,
our
one of the
up.
things that I remember when we were talking about this way before Viore before he even got connected, like. He was in search. Like he's not trying to. One of the things that is important because one of our core values is radical honesty and staying authentic. So it's important that no one wants to change. No one's going to change who we are.
Sure.
So his biggest challenge was finding a brand that really matches who we are as individuals, and then at the same
we
time,
all liked.
right, that everybody liked, that everybody would wear, that looks good. So I mean, that was a long time. Search for him when he finally found Viore. And it's great to see where that company's going, dude. It's so neat to see them explode.
they're everywhere.
They're
man.
blowing up.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
that thing we read about them recently? There was something.
Dude,
Doug
they were
pulled up.
GQ, New York Times.
Yes.
They've
Like
been,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're getting.
I'm not gonna
competing with Lululemon
Look,
like head to head.
Now I'm not a detective. I'm not a forensic scientist. But if you do the math, you can see clearly what happened when they signed with us, and now they're doing
the mind
these
pump.
crazy-
Mind pump bump.
That's right. We
Yeah.
call it the mind pump bump, dude.
No,
That's
just
it.
kidding.
Well, I know when we went down there, I mean, they had just an epic day when we went down and we spoke at their facility, and they will be on the tour list next year for sure. I know we'll go down there. I mean, they've been a great relationship. They just dropped all their fall stuff, so they got a bunch of new stuff that's coming out. I believe we have gear on the way, so I'm pretty excited too.
Ooh, I love it. I always see, like, you know, on those ads like that pop up now on my Instagram all the time, they just keep coming out with new styles all the time. I'm like, oh man, I don't have that one yet. I got some shopping to do.
Yeah, I like the this is the jacket I wear every day.
Yeah.
What is, I don't know, is it you call it a jacket, right?
Yeah, there's a name for it. It's a hoodie.
Yeah.
It's a zip-up hoodie that you have.
You know what I like about it?
The one that Justin was wearing, I want to get the one he had yesterday.
Which one?
The one he wore yesterday? Was it yesterday you wore that?
It's kind of gray with the black on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it
That's
form?
my favorite.
Is it form fitting a little bit?
Well, it's nice and light, so it's like I can wear it when it's kind of in between cold. Because here in California, you know, we're not like freezing.
Yeah, see, I like the one the because it's a little bit form fitting, and you know, I want to show off the guns.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to show off the.
Yeah.
So, bro, did
Don't
you
wanna hide 'em.
Yeah. So, was it 2 days ago? When did we interview Dr. Stephen Cabral? It was like a few days ago.
Yeah,
right?
it was maybe 3-4 days ago.
Three. Yeah, it was like last week, right?
Yeah.
The day after, I'm gonna throw Justin under the bus.
Oh wow.
The day after.
Oh, I know what
Oh
you did.
man.
Yeah, Justin.
Of course you can bring this up.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Justin and I pull in at the same time, so we both pull into the parking lot, and we're getting in the car. And I'm like, "What's up, dude? How you doing, bro?" And he had this look on his face that looked like concerned. You know what I mean?
It's a little wider than normal.
Yeah, he had a
Is that,
concern.
if that's possible.
I'm like, hey, oh shit, what's up, man? How was your weekend? He goes, bro. He goes, I got to get inside right now. I'm like, what's the matter? And he's like, he goes, I fucking drank a whole glass of milk this morning, and it just, I don't know what I was thinking. It just fucked me up. And he runs inside. Poor dude was lighting it up.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you did that after we had that episode.
4th of July.
You know, it's
in the bathroom.
He said that to me too, and I'm going like, bro, you're so the opposite of me. You went and tested something that you probably know you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I was like, after talking to Dr. Cabral, I was like analyzing everything I was doing. I'm like, fuck, you know, I poured my coffee, and you know, I'm notorious for using the sugar-free, you know. I forget the name of the brand or whatever that
Garbage.
Garbage basically creams. And after listening to him talk, I was like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Dude.
barely pouring any in there.
But a poor kid goes in there and just destroy. And you're just such a bad kid, Justin. You're like that kid that your parents say something,
Like I test it.
and you do the opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I don't know, dude. I like to my sense of freedom and individual, you know, rights. Like I want to make sure like this doesn't apply to me. You know, I'm just like I love it. I love dairy, and here's the thing. Like I know that sometimes,
defend the cheese, brother. Defend it.
Well, the cheese itself, like I'm still working through that. I know that it might affect me on a little basis, but a pure glass of milk, like I'm like, well, maybe if I just drink I had some peanut butter, and I'm trying to just decide whether or not maybe peanut butter or this or that, but it was definitely the milk.
And milk goes great with peanut butter.
Milk is so good.
Did you just have peanut butter by itself, like on a spoon?
Yeah. You don't do that?
Yeah, I do.
You're the guy that eats fucking butter sticks.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I just picture you in the morning, like sitting at the counter
Who
with
has
a jar of peanut butter.
I was chug this huge glass of milk.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a small.
Now, did it hit you right away? Like,
No,
what happened?
it was like when I was on the drive over.
Oh no, over the hill.
And it just like kept grumbling, and my stomach was just turning over and over. And I got here and I was like, this is not gonna be a good day.
Yeah,
I just like it totally gave me diarrhea, and it was bad news.
crushed it. But I saved you, buddy.
Yeah.
I saved you. Gave him the
You
fucking
did.
Four Sigmatic
The
charcoal.
charcoal.
I know. So that's where I ran into him. So I see him, and he's like me. Like we probably use Four Sigmatic a third of the amount of times that you use Four
Yeah.
Sigmatic. You've definitely,
I love him.
Used the brand more than anybody. And I come walking in from the bathroom, and Justin had just got here, and I see him making up the what is it? The lemonading charcoal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
lemonade.
It's got chaga and activated charcoal.
Yeah, and I see him stirring it up, and I don't ever see him make that often. And so I'm like, "What's up, bro?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Man, I had a fucking glass of milk." I'm like, after we just had Dr. Cabral here talking, I'm like,
I don't know.
like,
You know what? It was so
do you-
subconscious. Like I just like poured it, thinking like, huh. let's see. And
Fuck that
and
guy.
It fucked me up. Fucked me up. Yeah, I'm like so mad.
That shit doesn't apply to me.
Yeah. I wanted to keep that part of me.
Bro, this is not bullshit now. How fucking effective is activated charcoal for that shit?
Yeah, it was almost like 5 minutes later.
Done.
Like, it was just like everything was settling down and back to normal.
But
so.
then 30 or 40 minutes later, you went and what did you eat after that? You went and ate something else. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? And you're like, oh, I'm just testing it or something. What was it that you ate?
I don't know. It was probably something with a lot of cheese in it. I'm stubborn. I'm a stubborn guy. I have that part of me.
Yeah, so
you can't break through.
So Jessica has figured something out. Here's the bad thing with activated charcoal. First of all, I don't think it's something you should take all the time. So I just want to make sure people know that activated charcoal is good for those situations where
you drink milk and you shouldn't.
You're going to eat something or drink something that's going to bother you. I don't think it's a daily, regular, like consistent for months on end type of supplement.
No.
And here's why I want to say that, because first of all, for me, before discovering the magical and mystical powers of activated charcoal, I never drank alcohol.
It is pretty magical.
Never drank alcohol. Now that I know if I drink alcohol and take activated charcoal, I'm not going to get a hangover. Now we have events and shit. I'm fucking drinking.
Yeah, you're okay.
So Jessica, she gets.
You're not so lame anymore.
Jessica will break out.
It's great. It's like nice. Yeah.
You should listen.
That's so lame.
I'm tired of being around a bunch of lame. I can't do this but not that. I can't do this either.
Whatever, dude.
It's like fucking fitness people are the worst.
Yeah, they are.
Bunch of fucking little babies.
So Jessica, when she eats chocolate, she'll break out almost like 24 hours later. She'll break out in her face. She figured out that if she takes activated charcoal with chocolate, she doesn't break out. So what do you think she does more now? Eat more chocolate. So I'm like, babe, we can't use this.
Let's not rely on this.
Yeah, this isn't like a fucking free ticket. You know what I mean? We can just do whatever the hell we want type of deal.
No, I've definitely had more alcohol this last year than I probably have in the previous 10 years because of that hack that you introduced me to. That's been a game changer for me. And it's like, and every time I've tested it, like, I'm crossing my fingers over here and knocking on wood, but every time that we've gone out and we've drank, I have yet to have a hangover since we started doing the charcoal thing. And I'm like, whoa, this is
weird.
It is very interesting.
Anecdote. It's all anecdote.
Right.
I'm not making any claims, but I'm certain for me.
Nor do we condone it.
Yeah,
right?
for me, I swear to God.
No, we've had a ton of people since then. I've gotten a lot of DMs, and I've seen quite a few posts on our Facebook forum saying that they've gone and done it themselves and can testify to it too.
Yeah.
So.
Are we the only fitness podcast that's sponsored by weed and alcohol?
Oh my God,
probably
we are, aren't we?
Oh,
well, what are you?
Because we're cool.
No, we're
cool.
well-rounded.
No, we're
just missing
normal
condoms and guns, dude. We'll get the trifecta.
That's next, bro. And gambling.
Quadfecta.
I want gambling, condoms, and guns. Then we'll be the all-American fitness podcast.
Oh my God,
dude!
I want to shoot some guns right now.
Study came out 2 days ago. Okay, here's the title of the study. Size really does matter when it comes to fertility. Did you know this? So a new study suggests that men who are infertile also have smaller penises.
Wow.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Having a shorter appendage, just lost the page here. Having a shorter appendage was more common in men who were struggling to conceive
It's that turkey baster effect.
than in those with other genital health problems.
Baster effect.
So they've now
You gotta get it all up in there.
So here it is. It found that on average,
Oh my God.
men who were infertile were around 1 centimeter shorter than their fertile counterparts.
1 centimeter?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's such a small thing.
That is a very small difference.
Centimeter.
Oh, well, centimeter. Like an inch would make a big difference.
Well, here's the
I think.
quote. Here's a quote, right? The quote says, 1 centimeter may not be a striking difference, but there was a clear statistical significance. Interesting. Now, how does this make sense? Is it because you're just closer?
Oh, I would,
You know what I mean?
I would think so.
Yeah.
If that's the finish line and you've got a 1 centimeter head
you
start
got
on
like
the
a-
other guys, I would think that you have an advantage. Just
What if
like
you got like power? You know what I mean? Like it's a cannon.
But I think.
Calm down, Justin.
I'm just saying.
What's up in defense of the little wieners?
Yeah, I'm like trying to help you, the little guys out there, right?
Boom!
Like, yeah, I don't know, do some jumping jacks ahead of time or something.
Yeah, no, I read a long time ago that because the gender of the child is determined by the man, right? We're the ones that our sperm determine whether or not it's a boy or a girl, and the male sperm apparently swim faster but die sooner, kind of like real life.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
The female sperm swim slower but live longer.
right.
So the strategy for me when I had my kids was, when you release
Upside down.
the soldiers, you go in as far as you can. Because the dudes are gonna to have a boy. The guys are gonna go as fast as they possibly can and get there soon, and then boom, you'll have a boy. If you want a girl, you do halfway and you do your thing, and then the boys swim faster, they die. Then the female sperms get in there. And guess what?
I didn't know we were going to be dropping so much science today.
Yeah, I don't think there's any science there.
Yeah.
I think I'm just
you got to
But-
shoot halfway in.
work for me.
So
For a girl.
must have been a slow day on an American Journal. It sounds like what's our PubMed?
yeah, PubMed.
This
I like
must have been a slow week for PubMed.
No, I got like 4 more studies. Here, dude.
Okay, I was gonna say this is
I got like
the
4.
best study we had this
Yeah, I
week.
got a whole bunch here to bring up. Did you guys bring any today? By any chance?
Yeah,
No, you're the only one that
got
reads
me on
PubMed,
that
bro.
today.
You're the only one that
I
reads-
wish I would've
Yeah.
brought
Or I'm the only
one
guy
up.
that reads.
No. Give me
We got a great video.
Give me a
I
good
wanna show you guys.
Give me a good PubMed one, and then I actually had something I was going to share with you guys that I thought was interesting.
All right, I'll go with another one here. This one's pretty good. So this is an article in the New York Times. I think it's pretty apparent to anybody with a brain that marijuana is probably going to be recreationally legal nationwide probably within the next 10 years. Definitely medicinally legal, right? That I don't think anybody's going to debate that. The next thing to probably go through rescheduling is psilocybin mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms.
I heard about that.
Yeah, so researchers at Johns Hopkins University suggested that psilocybin should be reclassified from a Schedule 1, which is bullshit. It should never be Schedule 1, which means there's no medical benefit, to Schedule 4, which is like prescription sleeping pills. I firmly believe that should be the case.
So is this going to make its way into like therapy first?
That's it.
Yeah, and then it'll sort of.
Yeah, so if they make it a schedule, so Schedule 4 is like when you go buy, like a sleeping pill, or you get a prescription for a sleeping pill or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are all Schedule 4. So you still need a prescription, but it's not like so illegal that you can't study it. You can't, like Schedule 1 means you can't.
That's ridiculous.
Silly.
Yeah.
So what I think, and I firmly think, and there's a very strong push for this in the medical or scientific community, is to reclassify psilocybin as a Schedule 4 drug to be used for therapy. And I believe the first ways that and MDMA is another one that they're pushing.
I was going to ask you about MDMA because of all the studies they've already shown with it was like 99 or something, like almost like 100% success rate they were having with PTSD.
It wasn't 100%, but it was
really high.
It was something high. It was like 70 or 80%, in something that has no like terrible success rate. I think what we're entering into right now is a completely new era of psychotherapy, and I think it's going to be pushed.
agree.
It's going to be pushed by the reclassification of psilocybin and MDMA, and I think because what they found in these studies is classical psychotherapy or talk therapy, there's a certain level of effectiveness, and it is effective in some cases. In some cases, it's not that effective, but given a long period of time and work, it still has a certain efficacious, rate, and this is why it's prescribed and used, and why it has been used for so long. Like if you have an issue with paranoias, anxieties, depression, talk therapy, psychotherapy, it's something that you should probably look into. But what they're finding is classical psychotherapy, talk therapy, in combination with these drugs for very difficult to treat conditions like PTSD, or where I think it's going to first go is end of life therapy. I think that's the first place it's going to go. Where, if you're terminal, the doctor just told you you got 6 months to live, or something's going to happen to you, soon. That is a very, very scary place to be.
Yeah, if you're terminal, I mean, why wouldn't we allow that person to make all the decisions themselves?
I don't think anything should be illegal.
It's crazy to me that you would determine what's best for them at that point.
I think all drugs should be legal.
Yeah.
Especially if you have 6 months to live and you want to go smoke a bunch of crack.
Right.
Go for it.
I mean, what's going to stop you?
What are you going to do? Kill yourself?
Yeah.
It's already you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but I think that's the first place they're going to make these things legal, because there were these studies that they were doing on these terminal cancer patients, and all of them severe anxiety and fear and depression over their disease. They gave them this therapy with psilocybin, and the way they do it, from my understanding, is they'll give them a low, and it's not like they're not giving them like a crazy mega dose of mushrooms. They're giving them like a clinically effective dose, which is, I don't know how many grams, but it's not this crazy huge dose. It's enough though. Then they'll put shades on them, or what are they called? Blinders, or I don't know what they're called, where you cover your eyes so they're in the dark. Then they'll put on headphones with really soft music. They make sure that the setting is comfortable. They make sure that they're comfortable with the therapist. And then they lay there with their eyes closed and just think, and then they'll take them off, and then they'll talk, and then they'll go back in, and they'll think, and they'll talk, and they'll go back and forth. And a significant majority of the people who were terminal, who did this kind of therapy, came out of it and said that they lost all their fears and anxieties.
They come to terms with it, right?
Totally.
At that point. Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
Well, and imagine for the people who are connected to them, because I can imagine, I have all the empathy in the world for someone who's terminal.
Yeah.
I've seen someone go through that firsthand, but it's the people around them who I think will benefit a lot as well. Because imagine if you have a terminal person and they go through this therapy, and now they're like, you know what? I need to say this to this person. I need to say sorry to this person. I need to mend these bridges with this individual. I need to say these things to my kid that I've never said. I need to apologize to my wife for the years of whatever, and leaving with just this beautiful, ending. I think it'll be super, super powerful.
Well, and drugs really they take us from being present, right? And I think it's only fair that somebody who's like dying like that and feels miserable present, the present moment, why not let them be fucking off in La La Land? Like, why not? Like, if I think when if and when that point comes for myself, I would definitely want the option of, man, I just don't feel like thinking about that. I'm laying in a bed right now and I feel awful and miserable. If I could be high as fuck all day long today, like, by all means, why not?
Yeah, it's a form of escape.
Right.
We got your back, bro. Something like that happens, we're gonna hook you up.
yeah, we'll get you all the drugs.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome,
dude. I was gonna bring up. I just remembered. Did you guys see the Banksy's painting that went for auction? It went for like $1 million something, and then
I love all his stuff.
Dude, so it was the one famous painting where it's the girl with the balloon.
Oh, the balloon one.
With the balloon, right? So and it went for auction, and everything went through and all that, and then it basically like had it exploded or shredded.
It had a
self-destruct mechanism in it. So brilliant.
What?
Yeah, you should bring that up, Doug. So
everything went through.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh my
Is this
God,
new?
dude! This guy's so brilliant.
I think it shredded.
Yeah,
itself.
it just happened not too long ago.
I follow a bunch of his. You know what people do too? It's crazy. So he'll like,
it's Banksy.
It's shredded moments after being sold.
Doug, you don't know who Banksy is?
Oh, he's like a
graffiti
artist.
Yeah.
That nobody knows what he looks like, right? Nobody knows.
He's
who he is or what he looks like.
Completely anonymous. You know what's cool too is like you see these people he'll graffiti somewhere and people will take the. Bro, I can't believe this. Justin, when did this come out?
Yeah, so I mean, this is
How did I not hear
just
about
recently.
this?
Yeah,
is there an article on it, Doug, or is it just video?
Yeah,
I want to see. So it was self-destruct art, which is classic Banksy, right? To fuck with people like that.
Yeah.
So what he's known for, Doug, is he definitely addresses like controversial political topics and things that are going on in current events.
Like social issues and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said that it might even be worth more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
As it's shredded.
It's sold for $1.4 million.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's self-destructed. Is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to see what actually happened because I didn't.
Wow! After the gavel fell, a paper shredder was hidden inside the frame, and it totally destroyed
Look at these people.
No.
Well, yeah, dude. Is this Sotheby's?
That's so much money.
Was that Sotheby's or whatever?
The famous auction.
Wow!
Yeah.
He secretly built the shredder in case the painting went up for auction. Oh, he did it on purpose because he didn't want it to be sold.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was the brilliance of it. Yeah, because I mean, he's so renegade, and he's like with all his paintings in general, he just does it without like nobody even know who he is or where he's going to do it.
How does he make money? How does he make? You know how he makes money, Adam?
No, he doesn't, dude.
That's the thing. Yeah, he doesn't make money off it. It's real art. He just puts it out there.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It is really cool. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What were you had something?
Well,
to
yeah,
say.
talking about destruction or going down or bad. Like, so I love watching companies. I guess this sounds bad, but it's interesting to me to see companies try and get out when things are going bad, right? And so a couple companies that I'm talking about right now. One of them being Campbell's Soup. Like 7 years ago, they invested heavily into the fresh food market. And it ended up being like hundreds of millions of dollar, botched idea. Like, and they're selling off right now and trying to backpedal out of it, which is interesting to me because 7 years ago that it seems like it would be a really smart time
Sure.
to. And I think they probably tried to pivot and move into that area, but just goes to show like once you've painted yourself into a corner, sometimes as a company, as a canned food business, like to try and get into fresh food is just it's not.
So what do you mean by
it's
fresh
huge.
food? Was it like food that you put in the fridge and then you just warm it up type of deal?
Yeah. Are you pulling it up right now, Doug? Yeah, fresh food falls short.
I wonder why. I would like to look at the
Well, I would. My speculation on that is exactly what I just said. Is that I think sometimes when you've built a $1 billion company off of one thing, canned foods, like that's what they're known for. Like canned soup, canned foods is stuff that it can preserve forever and you could eat it years later. And then you decide to go in the completely opposite direction in hopes to get a piece of the market that's everybody knows is growing.
Right.
And has been growing for the last decade, and then you just don't.
Well,
have,
did they do that under the same brand name, or did they
did.
buy another company that was doing it? Which you see, like Coca-Cola and all these other kind of companies, they'll like hedge their bets on like a different like beverage company.
That's a good question. As far as I know, they still did it under Campbell. I don't think they did it under a different name, but I know that it
So
hurt.
it's
with
probably
it.
a bad strategy.
Oh, so they did a bunch of acquisitions, is what they did.
Yeah, a bunch of fresh food acquisitions, and I don't think it panned out for them at all. I don't know, Justin, though, if they kept the same name or they tried to sell under the original names of the companies that they
It would be
acquired.
interesting
because
to
as a
figure out.
consumer, that's the big barrier there, right? You do already have a preconceived idea of what that company provides, and so it's like, well, there's a little bit of a hesitancy, I'm sure.
Well, it's interesting to me because part of the problem with going from what they were good at to fresh foods is distribution. Production, it's a totally different operation.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Is that
that's
what killed them?
That is what's killed them.
Yeah,
Is part of that. Is exactly and kind of what we talk about with Thrive Market and them being what they've mastered is they mastered that side of the business first before they got into actually distributing. It's like they had that in line, like, oh, we have all these people in place because I think that's what you don't think about. You're like, oh shit, well, what happens when millions of people do start wanting to buy this stuff? Can we produce it at that rate? And then when you
we
can't
scale quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cost of implementing all these new channels of ways to distribute fresh foods because they might need refrigeration, it's just different problems.
Yeah,
whereas
the shelf
cans-
life's different, all that.
Totally.
Along the lines of companies that are dying, we touched on it a little bit with Craig, but I mean, it interests me too because we just recently had bodybuilding.com reach out to us, and they're coming after Mind Pump in a positive way, right? They're looking to affiliate or partner up somehow with us, and one of the first thing that we all did was look at how are they doing as a business right now, and man, they've been on a nosedive for the last 4 years. And after listening to Craig talk about what they did, it's like, man, that's you've built your brand off of providing all this free content, and then you put it behind a paid wall. And I'm sure that's a big reason why.
Well, they had to figure out a way to monetize because the bodybuilding.com made a shit ton of, they still do, but they made a shit ton of money off of selling supplements.
Yeah.
And Amazon, let's face it, good luck competing with Amazon. They're going to destroy anybody.
The shipping, the delivery system, like you just can't compete with that anymore.
Well, I believe they're done already, right? So that's the thing that's crazy is I really believe that, and this was something that Mike Matthews and I were talking about when we were up at the Podcast Heart event. So we were speculating about the business itself, and I was telling him that I really think that Amazon is letting them bleed slowly right now. It's like there's no reason for them to make a power move. Like they're too small of a fish. As big as bodybuilding.com is for Amazon, they're small fish. And so it's like, we could sit here and chase them around and try and outsell them in supplements and crush them. But why even put any money there? Let them slowly drown until they're in a position where they can just walk over and either acquire them or completely
So
squash
here's
them.
my question for you guys. Let's all speculate. Let's all have fun speculating. Let's say you are part of the team to figure out what to do with your supplements, because although they are getting murdered right now by Amazon with supplement sales, it still is probably easily their largest source of revenue. I would assume. I don't know this for sure, but I would assume. And if if anything, before it was a massive source of revenue.
It'd be interesting.
What strategies would you have to try to?
You would double down on the media side, right? So I maybe the supplements are their most profitable. I don't know, because with supplements comes shipping and overhead and cost for the product and storage and all these other things.
Well, how else do they monetize?
But most
companies
advertising, we know that's their main source of revenue.
Think about it. If you at one point their website, I know it's not anymore, but at one point they were one of the most highly trafficked websites in the world.
I know.
And so I would imagine to advertise on there, you'd have to pay a pretty dollar. So I would imagine that is up there. Now, the thing that I think where they went really wrong, and what I think we've done a really good job of with Mind Pump, is they didn't curate their content as well as I think that we are. We're very careful about who we present on the podcast. We're very careful about who we present on the YouTube channel, and I think they went purely. They I shouldn't say they pulled a page out of Shred. Shred's pulled a page out of them, which is they just look for anybody who's popular and look good, and it's just like
who's trending, or they look at the numbers of their website, how it's performing,
right.
And so it's like attractive.
Yeah, forget the idea that they've got a great message or that it aligns with your views or whatever. It's like if they're popular, they're big, they're trending, like you're saying, Justin, which is the same reason why I think they came after us. They knew very little about Mind Pump, ironically. As they're talking to us on the phone, it's like, well, but they've looked at our website. Our website's grown 400% over the last year.
Which is funny because, I mean, that was the biggest hurdle for us, is to get our website to perform.
Right.
Yeah. I think, it's interesting, Doug. Do they have, what's their shipping? Because here's a problem with competing against Amazon. Amazon has Prime, which killed everybody. They came out with Prime and that just murdered everybody, right? 2-day shipping, you pay one flat rate for the whole year. The other thing that Amazon kills everybody in is it's so fat. You have an app and you just click to buy. You don't have to enter anything.
Yeah, one click.
You click to buy. I'm sure they have that as well. It'd be interesting to see what their shipping is, how long it takes.
Well, it can't compete with Amazon.
That's the problem.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they are whatever they're offering. It cannot compete with Prime. That's what makes Amazon Prime so fucking badass.
It's almost like you want to fire sale all your supplements on Amazon, right? Like you would put it all on there as like whatever. This is the place everybody's going to buy it.
What they're hanging on to right now, when you look at it, is Doug just had Chris Getlin. I always forget up his last name. Caged supplements. Mm-hmm. So where they're hanging on is that they've partnered up with people like our friend Craig, who's no longer partnered with them, but with individual brands like that and guys that have made their own supplement line, and so they promote them and their supplement through there. So they're still hanging on the fact that, okay, these people are coming through here because they're connected to these people still, and hopefully they'll buy through us versus buying on Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, because the way I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to picture myself being in that position. Like, how do you compete? Well, the thing about Amazon, the thing that is the detriment about Amazon,
you can't compete. It's over.
Well, hold on. So here, maybe you're right, but I'm just trying to figure out the weakness. If I'm looking at Amazon as a fitness consumer, Amazon's sterile, right? It's buy your product. You just buy a product, comes to your house quick, free shipping. That's it. But it's also very sterile. You don't get.
What do you mean by that?
There's no fitness value. There's no fitness information value. There's no, like, if I have questions, if I want to read forum,
customer support.
I get your direction you're going. You're right.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by, like, you have.
That's what bodybuilding.com is.
Right. Like, so if I wanted to read an article from, what's the kid's name? I like a lot of the stuff he puts out. They call him Quadzilla, and he's supposedly claims to be an all natural guy. He's got incredible legs. Why can't I think of this kid's name?
I don't know.
Anyways, one of our forum members will for sure say something. But he was just there on the page a minute ago that Doug had up, and so he's got, I think, close to 500,000 followers on Instagram, and he's got his own line and everything like that. So I could see people coming there to read his content, watch his videos, watch some of the programs that he has out there, and then, oh, by the way, clicking on a supplement that he promotes or whatever. So I see some value there, but let's be honest, even after you buy it one time, if that same product is offered on Amazon for faster, cheaper, right, you're still going to continue over there. You might have got introduced to it on this. And then if you're a company like one of these young guys that have their own supplement line, it would behoove you to be on Amazon. You don't want to not be on Amazon. So you're on Amazon and you're on bodybuilding.com, and then they're competing with each
Or
other.
like most people, they look at that supplement and they're like, I wonder if it's on Amazon. And then you just go right to Amazon.
Yeah.
And so I think Amazon is like, they know that, and I think they're smart, and they're just letting them bleed out. They're like, sure, we've got no problem with bodybuilding.com hustling to put out all this content to attract
Because
people.
we're going to get people from them anyway.
Because we're going to get the people on the back end, right? So you're gonna initially attract them because of a person like a Craig Capurso. Like, oh, I love Craig. Oh, let me click and see his. Oh, look, it's bodybuilding.com. There's an article on him. There's a video on him. Cool. Oh, look, here's the supplement I want to buy. Now you buy it. Now, after you buy that one supplement, you go, oh, I wonder if I can find this on Amazon for cheaper and faster.
So
oh, look, I can.
This is why. This is
How
why.
convenient.
This is why when you're in the market, in the position that you have as a middleman, right? So how you make money is you take something from someone and provide and take it and then deliver it to someone who wants it. You're a middleman, and all markets have middlemen, and they play a very important role in markets. However, and here's some of the benefits of that. You can make a lot of money and not have to produce anything. You just have to be the one that delivers it. The problem is you're always at major risk for competition and for technology.
Technology eliminates that person first.
Technology is destroying all middlemen. So this reminds me of, like, if we went back in time, we were just talking about Blockbuster earlier. If Blockbuster saw the writing on the wall and said, oh, fuck, our days are numbered, let's get in heavy in digital streaming, today they'd probably doing pretty fucking good. They'd be doing okay.
Right.
The problem is they held on for too long and they sank, and then it was too late. Netflix, Amazon, everybody else killed them. So if you're bodybuilding.com, who is a middleman, because they sell their own supplements, but really they sell everybody else's supplements.
Right.
They may be looking at this and saying, okay, if I'm looking at this, okay, guys, look, our days are numbered. We'll keep doubling down on the content. Let's phase out this middleman thing that we're doing because Amazon's doing it way better. And let's either A, invest in our own supplements and create our own line and make them really good and then sell them on Amazon ourselves. Yeah. That may be the way to go. It's just a shitty position to be in because it's like you're holding on to all these chips, and the only way to win is to give most of them away, and shift, and all you want to do is hold on to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And and this whole market, the technology is fucking just destroying all middlemen.
It's really fascinating.
Like, look at record stores. When's the last time you went to a fucking record store that sells, music?
Makes no sense.
They don't
It's
exist
just for
anymore.
nostalgia.
No,
That's it.
Everything's about streaming now.
Streetlight Records.
Speaking of
I still go
streaming,
there.
I was reading an article on Hulu the other day. So now I'm like watching Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon as far as
That's right, because you canceled everything else.
Yeah, and so now I have all these that I'm streaming, and I'm paying attention to, like, top shows and everything. It's kind of crazy to see how they do this now. Like, Hulu and Amazon both, they just haven't figured it out as well as Netflix. But what I mean figured it out is the team of people that are creating the series and stuff like that are just not quite as talented as Netflix. Netflix is still the leader in this field. And what you see a lot of is this, they'll throw a series out and, it'll be a decent series. But if it's not a home run, there's a big gap. There's a major gap between TV series that are good and people like and like, oh, thumbs up, whatever, versus viral of like, oh my God, you have to see Stranger Things.
Sure.
Oh my God, you have to see like these.
Sure.
And, these other, like Hulu and Amazon are really lacking in that department. Netflix has done an incredible job of creating viral type seasons or shows that people are sharing like crazy. And so Amazon is like, they'll throw a show out one season, I'll watch it and I'll be like, oh, this is good. But because it didn't break any sort of records, they don't even fuck around.
Put more money into it.
Yeah, because it still costs them money. It's still $100 million project. Even if it made them back $150 million, they burn it. Yeah. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Even if it's profitable, that's crazy.
They're
right?
looking for the home
But
run.
that just shows you like how cool. I mean, when you think about that as a consumer, it can be frustrating because if you liked the show and you wanted more, it's a bummer. But the cool part is it's elevating the game
it's
so much.
so competitive.
Yes, that everybody is.
Netflix is really putting a lot of efforts into like developing movies, and I know like it's been a rough start. There's been a few of them I've watched, and I'm like, eh. But I just watched one last night that I'm still thinking about right now. Like, it pisses me off because it's one of those it's one of those movies that's it's super suspenseful. It's scary.
What was it?
It was about this guy who he goes off to war. He's psychologically fucked up. Like, he's some kind of psychopath, and he's in this like culture up in Alaska, in this place that's like super like away from everybody. Like there's like there's no roads going in or anything, and it's like this really tight knit community. Anyways, they're like really into wolves. I guess the wolves had come in and had actually taken away some kids, and like this was like the main premise of the show is like these wolves had come in and take kids away from this mom who was just like had saw the whole thing and was just like, anyways, it goes on from there to where he comes back from the war. He starts going on this killing spree and like kills all these people, wears this like fucked up like wolf mask, and it's all like related to they're trying to relate like human behavior to animal behavior and like all this kind of stuff. At the end, he gets away, right? He gets away with his wife. Like, and anyways, like, I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but it's like,
You just did.
it's so fucked up. You're just like left hanging. You're like, there's no resolve, you know, like, but I'm still thinking about it. And I'm like, wow.
Now, do you think that that's because they're trying to potentially test it to see if it could be a series or an 8-part
Part
thing?
two.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Yeah, exactly. I think that's where I'm just left speculating like the whole time. My brain, like I was sleeping, I was dreaming about it. I woke up this morning, I'm still thinking about it.
That's funny.
It was crazy.
Well, here's the other thing that I'm thinking too, with Amazon and Netflix and Hulu competing with traditional like movies and that kind of media. The writing is now very different, and really that's the difference between a great movie and a good movie is the writing. Anybody will tell you that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But the way that writers are writing movies or shows now is changing, because before you were limited with time. Like if you go to the movies, how long is a movie going to be? 3 hours at the most. Like usually around 2 hours is the average length of a movie, right? Well, Amazon and Netflix can make a series that really, if you stream even every episode back to back, you're looking at between 8 to 13 hours of a movie. So the writing is very different. You're writing way more in depth. You're getting way more into the characters. You've got way more twists. You've got way more directions you can go. Fascinating. I think it's gonna be very fast. Media is totally changing. I fucking love it.
Hold the Dark. That's what it's called. Thanks, Doug.
So, and this is it's a movie the way it's set up.
It is a movie. Yeah, it's an actual movie, and it has the guy from what's that? The latest one with the robots or the God.
You're terrible, Justin.
Yeah, you
I
are
forget it.
You'll remember a fucking song from when he's 5 years
Right.
old.
But
I can't remember.
You watched the show just yesterday.
It's like one of the most popular shows ever, too.
Well, I have one for you guys to check out that Katrina and I are just loving right now, and it's an Amazon Prime one. Is Marvelous Miss Maisel. You guys should watch. It's fucking great. It's based in the 1930s, and it's MAISEL, and it's actually on Amazon Prime, not Netflix, Doug. But it's a really good show. I think that we're almost done. We have like 1 or 2 episodes left. We've knocked it out in a couple nights because we liked it so much. It's got a great story behind it.
Westworld. Oh my God.
Oh, that's what you were trying to think of?
Yeah, West.
Out of nowhere.
Westworld.
Westworld.
He was in Westworld. He's one of the main actors. Anyway, sorry.
What's his name? The guy,
he
the
was
black
one of-
guy. That's
he was one of the
bald-
robots,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah, I know
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Sorry.
Anyways, this one's really good. It's from the 30s. She is, and I'm still figuring out like where it's going to go, but it's definitely got me sucked in. But she's kind of like this, she plays this traditional housewife, and you can tell as she gets into a divorce, her husband leaves her for basically the exact same life that she had already like created with them, and so you're kind of rooting for her, and then she's trying to chase to be a comedian, and then she gets out in the workforce. She comes from a very wealthy Jewish family, and so it's a very unique story. I've never seen I think a story or a series like this told in the 30s from a perspective of a woman and what that would be like to get divorced, also coming from wealthy parents and their expectations of what they think she should be as a woman. And
Interesting.
then, you and Jessica would absolutely love it, I know for sure. And I think our audience would too. It's one of the best shows, I think, on
Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yeah, it's cool. Oh, it's cool. It's on the 2nd season. I didn't know that. I've only seen the 1st season so far, but we're loving it right now.
Today's Quah is brought to you by Maps Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, Maps Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
Quah.
All right, our first question is from Constantine MB. What should a 17-year-old do? Bulk or cut?
17-year-old bulk or cut?
I like this question because I think, well, I know for sure me, and I know for sure Sal. I think Justin too. You know, I was from literally 17. That's when I started, all the way till almost 30 years old. So I think about 28 or 29. So for 11 years of my life, I was literally on the bulk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Never stopped.
no, never, ever tried to lean out. I never once
was
said,
bulking hard.
and that was because of my insecurities, because I was not big enough. And I think I looked at the kid's picture. He looks like he was built. He's got a leaner, smaller frame, similar to mine. And so I could totally see how you could get stuck in this, like, I need to be bigger. And so you're constantly trying to bulk. And one of the biggest light bulbs that went off for me at 28 when I finally went the other direction, and I was so, like, mad at myself. Like, shame on me for thinking this way for so long, and how well would it had served me had I done some mini cuts, or at least leaned out or tried to diet to lose body fat. And it's because I always was relatively lean. I was always between 9 and 11%. I never saw myself as not lean enough. I always saw myself as not big enough, and I didn't have enough muscle. And so because of that, it drove my programming, it drove my dieting, and it probably slowed down much of the results that I could have had I switched that thought process. So the reason why I picked this question is I've got to think that there's a lot of 17-year-old young men, and women for that matter, that because of how they identify themselves right now, they make bad choices as far as diets and programming, because they're battling their insecurities versus probably doing what would serve them best in their overall journey.
It's interesting to think about, because when I was 17, and I'm much like you guys, and I probably don't just voice it as much as you guys, but I was always trying to bulk and get bigger, and I was super bony, and that was a big insecurity of mine. And taking my shirt off, I was just like, oh my God, I need more muscles. And that's all I could think about. Thinking back, like, what if we had social media back then? You know,
it would have been worse.
Also about, getting big, but being lean at the same time. I didn't even think for a second about giving a shit about being lean. It was all about how much mass I could possibly put on my body. And, that being sort of an interesting state that we're in right now. It's like you're constantly showing your body off, and people are judging you. And man, it would have been interesting.
Dude, I started at 14, right? So I started real young, working out. Also, extremely insecure about being skinny. I was painfully skinny. You know what's funny, by the way? I look at pictures of myself now when I was 14 and 13. Yeah, I was skinny, but I wasn't like...
You look like every other...
I look like a normal 13-year-old. That's how
everybody's skinny.
That's how fucking distorted my mind.
Well, you know why it is, and I remember this. You look at the one or two anomalies in your school as a kid in high school who's buff, or has the mesomorph body type, and you're just like, you're gunning for that. Like, you believe because there's a kid who looks like that it's possible to look like that, and then you're on this mission to, or in this case, now, like Justin brings up, in this day and age, you have who's the popular fucking young kid who's now 20-something, but he started on Instagram, and he's Jeff Said, right? You have this Jeff Said kid who's, gets out there as a teenager on Instagram and is promoting, and he's got an incredible physique, and, all these kids are chasing after looking like this kid. In reality, there's probably not a lot you have in common with this kid whatsoever.
Dude, I wasn't even, I remember too, there was definitely moments in my life where, people would say things to me, like you say to anybody, not because they're trying to be hurtful, just because they're, like, for example, I remember once we were at my aunt's. My aunt had a swimming pool, and we'd all go there on the weekends in the summer and go swimming and have a blast, me and all my cousins. So I go in the bathroom and I change into my bathing suit and I get out, and my aunt, who wasn't that much older than me at the time, so if I'm 13 years old, she's probably 18 years old, and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God," she goes, "You're so skinny. You need to eat something." Mm-hmm. And I know it was innocent. Like, this is what kids say to each other. It's not a big deal. But it stung so deeply. Mm-hmm. And anytime someone said the word skinny to me, it stung. And so I was on this mission forever to try and gain weight, where, I did all kinds of crazy shit. I used to buy, because I had a job at the age of 14, when I would work for my dad, and he'd pay me a little bit. I'd take that money and I'd ride my bike to the Beehive, which was the name of this nutrition shop, which, by the way, still fucking exists on Coleman and something in San Jose. This supplement store has been around for like 100 years. And I go in there, and I remember I'd walk around and think I was like, oh, these are the answers. I remember the first time I bought anything was in that store, and I think it was like $60, and I saw the big bottles of weight gainer, and one would say mass gainer, and the other would say maximum weight gain.
I always look for the mass gainer.
Yeah, and I'm looking for the one that's like going to sell me that it's going to make me gain the most weight. And I forgot which one I bought. I think it was Mega Mass, 2000 or something. It came in this big bucket, and I rode my bike home, so excited. And I remember I took this thing. I told my mom, buy me whole milk, please buy me whole milk, because the bottle says, the thing says mix it with whole milk. And I'd take her blender, and I'd blend up a shake with whole milk, and you turn the blender on, and the whole fucking thing would barely move because it was like cake batter, so thick. And you'd see like a little spiral in the middle. The whole thing's not even moving. And then I'd sit there, and this was what I would do after my workout. I'd sit there with this blender full of this thick liquid that's mostly maltodextrin, mostly sugar and carbohydrates, right? And I would just chug it, and I'd sit there and do sets. This was like part of my workout because it was so hard to chug. And I'd sit there and I'd swallow it, and I'd set it down on a thing, and I'd fight the throwing up. Like, okay, I'm not gonna puke. Okay, cool, I can have some more. It would take me 15 minutes to finish this whole thing. Then I'd sit on the couch, and I wouldn't move. So I didn't puke because it was so much fluid, and I'd sit there and just try and absorb it. And this is the kind of shit that I did to myself for years and years and years and years. Now, the irony of it, did I gain weight? I did, in spite of all that crazy shit that I did. Would I have gained more muscle had I known that I could have been more effective and efficient with my nutrition by eating whole natural foods and by sometimes going into a cut? I would have gained more muscle, for sure. And I probably wouldn't have damaged, created the gut issues that I have. And I probably wouldn't have gotten to the point where it took me 7,000 calories just to gain a single pound had I allowed myself to cut every once in a while to sensitize my body to things like proteins and carbohydrates. So, when I talk to 17-year-olds or kids about bulking and cutting, first thing I do is I say, don't think of it as a bulk or a cut. Because here's what happens when you tell a 17-year-old to bulk.
Right.
They eat 5 times more than they were eating before.
Yeah.
And if you tell a 17-year-old to cut, they eat nothing all of a sudden. They go one extreme or the other. So I tell them, no, let's not do that. What I want you to do is I want you to add an extra small meal a day when you want to gain weight, and I want you to eat your normal meals except cut one of them in half, maybe the last meal of the day when you want to go down a little bit. And that's it. Just a real small measurement, nothing too crazy. If I have a very dedicated 17-year-old that's real smart, then I may teach them how to track and do that kind of stuff. But, a lot of times, and, to be quite honest, I haven't trained a 17-year-old or 16-year-old recently with all these new tracking tools and stuff. Back when I would do it, it was like, okay, I got to get the 17-year-old to take this nutrition book with them everywhere and add things. So I'll just give them very basic advice. But whether you're trying to build muscle or burn body fat, you want to live in both. Both of them are going to benefit you.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to burn body fat, you want to live more in a calorie deficit. And if you want to gain muscle, you want to live more in a calorie surplus. But you don't want to always entirely be there. Cutting or being in a deficit has some benefit to somebody who wants to gain muscle. The benefit is it resensitizes your body to protein and increases sensitivity to carbohydrates, making your body more efficient with calories, aka utilizing more of them to build tissue. On the flip side, if you're cutting, throwing in some surplus days is beneficial because it keeps your metabolism from slowing down too much. And so this is the key here. Just like if your goal is to build, let's say your goal is to max out your squat and be only strong in your max rep range of 1. Let's say you're a power lifter and you just want to lift 1 rep. And that obviously you're in competition, so it's 1 rep that you're going to do in the competition. You're still going to benefit from throwing in some sets every once in a while of 10 to 12 reps. You're going to get some carryover and some benefit. So it's really not that different. Again, if you want to gain, most of the time you live in that surplus. Throw in those cuts every once in a while. It'll benefit you, and the same thing for the reverse.
It's normally, I think that's the point to be made, is that it's more than likely if you're a 17-year-old kid, regardless of what you're trying to do, your ultimate goal, you're probably living in one of these more than the other, right? Like if you're the kind of thicker kid who is a little more insecure about being, feeling fat, you're probably always trying to cut and you're eating lean, trying to do that. If you're the opposite, you're the skinny. So what would really serve both examples is the opposite, and that was the thing that I was trying to get across with like my thing was I for years was trying to bulk constantly because of my insecurities where I didn't realize, man, the best or the most amount of compliments that I ever got of being big, quote unquote, was when I leaned out for the first time in my life.
Isn't that the ironic?
And I remember being like, what the fuck? Like, I had never had so many people walk up to me and like, man, you look big. What are you doing? And me going like, what the fuck? I'm 15 pounds lighter than what I was just 3 months ago.
It's the same thing with, I've had female clients where they're in this constant state of trying to cut, and then I'll have them bump up their calories and they'll build a little bit of muscle. And then they'll come to me and be like...
Right, they
like
fill out, add a couple pounds, and then yet they're being told that they look lean.
Yeah, they'll be like, dude, 4 people yesterday asked me how how I've lost so much weight recently. And I'm like, I'm heavier. I'm 2 pounds heavier. It's that illusion that you create in terms of the appearance. Because at the end of the day, do you really want to change? The only people that should be worried about the scale, by the way, are athletes that are competing in a weight class.
Right.
Other than that,
like wrestling,
you don't walk around with your weight, plastered on your chest. Nobody gives a shit. It should, of course, your health, but it's your appearance. So if you look leaner or you look more muscular, that's more important than what the scale says. And many times the scale will say one thing and you'll look the opposite. I've seen people lose weight and look fatter. I've seen people gain weight and look leaner, all through that illusion. Adam just talked about how that happened for him, happened for me. Another paradigm, shattering moment for me along these lines was there was a year where my parents were on vacation. And so me and my siblings, and I think I was maybe 16 or 17 years old, and my siblings were all younger than me, and we were all staying with my grandparents. And my grandma, old school Sicilian, woman, never had a driver's license, hilarious, like literally the stereotype. She would make food for me whenever I wanted, and she'd make anything I wanted. And so she used to tell me, what do you want to eat, for breakfast, and what do you want to eat for lunch? And I'm like, wow, shit, like this is cool. So I was like, steak. I want steak. I want steak in the morning. I want steak in the afternoon. I want steak for dinner, and throw in some pasta, some potatoes, or whatever. And so she literally made me steak all day long. And my parents were gone for a month, and I gained like 7 pounds of like lean muscle. It was like a ridiculous amount of lean muscle in a short period of time. And I remember thinking to myself like, oh shit, it's food. It's not supplements that's going to make me gain muscle.
I needed a Nana like that.
Oh, dude, she's the best. She's the best.
Next question is from Tracy Freeman. What would be the most appropriate rep ranges or workout phases for cuts and bulks?
What's funny about this is the most appropriate rep range is the one that's going to build the most muscle on you, regardless if you're cutting or you're bulking. So let me explain what I mean by that. When you're trying to cut or lose body fat, the biggest thing you're going to have to contend with, the biggest challenge you're going to have to contend with, is the loss of muscle and the slowdown of your metabolism. The best way to prevent your body to lose muscle is to train in a fashion that tells your body to build muscle. Now, you might not build muscle because you're eating low calories, but if your signal is telling your body to build, then at the very least, you should be able to keep muscle. So you should always be, weights should always be geared around
building muscle,
trying to build muscle, unless you have a performance goal, in which case then performance is number one, whether it be stamina or agility or power or whatever. But it should always be around trying to build muscle. Now, which rep range is going to build the most muscle on you?
The one you're not doing.
That's it. It's the one you're not doing. And now there is a general rep range you want to be in, right? There's the low rep ranges, which I'd say are between 1 to 4 or 5. There's the high rep ranges, which I would say probably on the highest
15
end.
to 20.
Yeah, 15 to 20 or something like that. So between 1 to 20 reps, those are the ranges that you want to work within. The one that you're stuck in is the one that's probably not building muscle for you anymore. Even the one that they call the hypertrophy range, which is 8 to 12.
That's why I do only 7 reps.
That's it. Yeah.
That's why whenever
Keep it simple.
I transition from a cut or a bulk, I'm also transitioning my program at the same time, which is kind of how we, when you look at like all the MAPS programs, they're all phased anywhere between, I think the shortest we have in like our anywhere is like a 2-week phase. Our longest phase, I think, is stretched out to 4 weeks, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah.
So between 2 and 4 weeks, we're always switching up your training phase, meaning that we're switching up the rep ranges, rest periods, things like that. So this would be that example. So if that's the case, then a great strategy would be to also be manipulating your nutrition at the same cadence. Now, what do you decide to do? So, okay, if I say that, does that mean when I go to phase 1 of MAPS anabolic, which is a more strength phase, what am I supposed to be in, cutting or bulking? Well, whatever you weren't in last. So, and that is what's going to serve you the most. And I highly recommend weaving in and out of both. So I think that's the takeaway from this. And I wanted this question because we get this a lot. We get a lot of questions.
Daily.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most common questions that we get. And, anybody that's trying to sell you on an idea that, this way of eating is best for cutting or bulking, even if they try and back it with some sort of science, well, that becomes moot when you talk about what has that person been doing for the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Well,
now
that's just one case,
right?
Yeah, they don't. That's why it's always like, well, it depends. Like it depends on what you've currently been doing. What you haven't introduced this new stimulus. Like your body's going to respond according to new stimulus or things that maybe we need to explore more. So you have to consider all that.
And I know there's going to be there's an argument for, okay, if I want to cut, then what I should do is I should do the rep range and style of workout that burns the most calories. I understand that argument, right? If I do, if I go 15 reps and I do a circuit, or I do a superset with 2 exercises, or a giant set, which is 3 exercises or more, I'm going to burn more calories than if I do a bunch of straight sets at 4 reps, with 2-minute rest in between. And that's true. You will burn more calories, but that's not the whole story.
Right.
That's not the whole story at all.
Because you can make a case for the other side too.
That's right. And this is the same argument I have when people say cardio is superior for fat burning than weights. Because cardio burns more calories than weights does, for sure. I don't give a fuck what you do with weights. You can burn more calories with cardio. Trust me. Like running will burn more calories in 30 minutes than an hour of weight training. It's just true. You'd have to get real creative with your weights to burn as many calories as running. But the difference is resistance training sends a signal to your body to speed your metabolism up and to build muscle, whereas cardio eventually will send a signal to slow your metabolism down. So now back to the other question, the point that I made about doing more reps, burn more calories. It does, but if your body's used to that rep range, if your body's used to high reps all the time, you're just burning more calories and you stop sending that muscle building signal. You may actually start to achieve a slower metabolism as a result of that. And after about 5 to 6 weeks, those high reps, even though they burn more calories, result in you burning less calories throughout the rest of your day, which is most of the day, right? Because you work out for an hour, you've got 23 hours of the day just sitting there. You'd want a faster metabolism. This is why a 200-pound, bodybuilder or a 180-pound male bodybuilder or guy that lifts weights properly is going to burn more calories on a daily basis than a 100-something pound guy that does running all day long, that runs 20, 30 miles a week. He may burn more calories, or even maybe burn the same amount of calories at the absolute least, but he's not moving nearly. He doesn't have to. He's got a faster metabolism. So,
not to mention that, and something that Dr. Carvajal talked about a little bit, Cabral, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What he talked about the other day too is that there's a genetic piece that plays a role here too. Some people, if you have a more ectomorph body type, you may find that when you train in a certain phase, feeding yourself a certain way is more advantageous versus a different body type. So this is why, and I know everyone's always looking for us, which I know that's one of the things, the knock on Mind Pump is we always say, depends, right? But that's the fucking truth. The truth is it always does depend. And so if you're looking for a more clear-cut answer or direction to give, this is what I would tell a client. I would say, listen, follow one of the MAPS programs. There's 3 phases in MAPS Anabolic, for example. In phase 1, run a cut. In phase 2, run a bulk. In phase 3, run a cut. And then come back through the program and do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like that would be my recommendation for you. And then see how your body responds, how you feel, what you like about it. And you're going to find out, no matter who the fuck you are, there's going to be pros and cons on both.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to find out that running through a strength phase 1 on a cut, your
performance is going to drop substantially.
Your performance. You may not hit PRs. You may not be. It may not be the strongest time, but you might see that you lean out better than you've ever leaned out before, and you held on to more
muscle. Yeah.
Right. And then the flip is true. Now go through a phase 1, feed the fuck out of yourself, and you go, oh shit, looks like I didn't lean out as much in that phase 1, but that was the strongest, and you added more muscle. So you're going to see pros and cons. You're going to see a genetic difference. The best thing that you could possibly do is actually to play with this and to actually and track it and pay attention to it, which again goes back to why we phased our programs the way we did, is not because it's the only way to program, but because it's a great way for you to measure things like this and then go back and say, oh, this is what works really well with my body.
Next question is from the Maple Leaf Man. What would you say is the most important muscle or muscle group for peak athletic performance?
The glutes.
Yeah.
Not even close,
Besides
right?
the heart, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, that's the obvious one.
The number one muscle is the heart.
you
Without
need
it,
that
you're
one.
dead. But
you need that one.
the
It's
glutes.
got to be the hips.
Yeah.
It's got to be the
Glutes.
muscles that work
I was
on
going
the
to say
hips.
tongue, but oh well.
Yeah, it depends on, what kind of
Whoa.
athletic performance you're talking about.
Whoa.
In our sport of podcasting, definitely.
Definitely.
You got to have a strong mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, glutes though, right? I mean,
yeah.
this is in
He
fact,
who has the biggest glutes usually is the most powerful
Bro.
in the field. I mean, I've noticed that, like, just in my own athletic career. It's like, I'm always worried about that guy who's got that, center of gravity, that power. Like, you could tell by just these horse legs, like what you're in for.
Yeah. It's funny. Like if I see somebody, I don't know if you guys can do this too, I'm sure, where you can pick out, like when you see people, in the crowd, like, okay, they work out, that's an athlete. Oh, that person over there, you can tell is actually legit strong.
They have a hip swagger to them, because they're moving them big ass glutes when they walk. You could just see, like, oh yeah, he or she squats, and I bet is explosive just
big
by
ass obliques.
Yeah, I would say. I was just gonna say. I would say that so glutes. I agree with you. If I were to extend it out, I would say glutes, back. So really strong. Mid back in particular, shoulders. And then obliques. Those are the muscles that you see
and the
very developed in
and
athletes.
the difference between the three of those would really be the sport that we're talking about,
Sure.
right? Because if we're talking about a swimmer, peak athletic
Lats.
performance has nothing to do with their ass.
Yeah.
At all.
Right.
They have small asses.
Yeah, right.
They have to have small asses.
Right.
They don't need it.
Yeah, that's drag for them.
Actually.
It wouldn't be advantageous to have a big ass and be a swimmer.
Have you seen the proportions of Michael Phelps?
Yeah, it's
You guys
crazy.
seen that?
all
Yeah.
torso.
Yeah, he's got such a long torso, super long arms, really, really short legs, and he's got no butt whatsoever. He's like a big canoe.
So peak athletic performance, that's a general statement, and I think the general answer is glutes, unless we're getting into very specific type of sports like swimming or something like that, then it'd be way more advantageous to have a powerful back and absolutely no ass. But for most all field sports, ice hockey, like anything that requires your legs and running,
Which is most sports.
Yeah, which is most sports. Is I'm going to argue and say that glutes is the number one, and then again, like you said, I mean obliques. I can see like strength athletes and where you're having to stabilize heavy weight or rotational
Well,
movements.
throwing and
Well, just
swinging.
even just punching, like being able to apply ground forces properly. You need really strong legs and a strong, stabilized core. So that's all going to be a contributing factor to like a powerful athlete. And having power and being able to summon power is really the game when it comes to athletics, and be able to control that process. So
this is something that I really lacked as a kid, and my knowledge now of fitness. I wish I had that because I put no energy and focus. I'm built more like a Michael Phelps, and I was a basketball player, and I wish I trained my legs. I wish I trained my glutes. I understood the importance of that at an early age. It makes me really wonder, like, man, if I would have applied that in high school, how good would I have been? I mean, I didn't really dunk a basketball till after I stopped playing basketball. That's crazy. I was a basketball player all my entire life as a kid. I didn't find the explosiveness until I started weight training,
Right.
and it blew my
strong legs.
Yeah,
Boom.
And I wasn't even doing it for sports. I was just squatting because that was part of my bodybuilding quote unquote routine. And the next thing you know, I'm able to get above the rim and dunk the ball. And I thought, fuck, man, had I applied this knowledge to myself as a young kid growing up in sports, fuck, who knows how good of a basketball player I
It's
would have
funny
been.
when they talk about athletes, when you look at the traditional sports, and they say, there was this one documentary I saw where they said, who is the world's best all-around athlete? Like the top, cyclist, runner, swimmer, boxer, wrestler, whatever, and they compared them all. The one athlete that had the worst performance in other sports was the swimmer. because what makes you good in the water,
specialized.
well, what makes you good in the water makes you terrible on land.
Yeah.
Right. You want a long torso, short legs, skinny, not big hips, long arms or whatever, and it makes you kind of awkward on land. But in the water, it makes you amazing. And then flip it, the athletes that were really great in their sports did terrible in the water because they weren't built.
They're like sunk.
They weren't built for the water. Yeah, I
That
think
was me. I was a terrible
Were
swimmer.
you really?
Oh, yeah.
I still sink. I think some of the best athletes are like wrestlers. I really do. Wrestlers and boxers seem to be very, very well rounded.
Yeah.
In terms of just overall,
Well, yeah, because you just look at the sport, like how involved their entire body is in that process, right? So they have to be able to be multifaceted on every single angle. They have to be strong, and so I would definitely echo like a wrestler or somebody like a gymnast or something like that.
Yeah, and you need just posterior chain in general. Sports, if you have a really strong posterior chain, it's going to make you explosive off the line. It's going to make you reactive. You're going to be able to move, faster and change direction better if you have a very powerful posterior chain. The irony of it is, when especially when we were kids, the exercise that everybody focused on was bench press, which of the big compound movements has probably the least carryover.
For sure.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a lineman for football. I mean, it's really no.
Yeah,
reason
shoulder overhead.
There's a better way to do it.
Overhead press.
That's what I would.
Overhead press or incline press would be
I would
far better
put that
than
higher on the
I
list.
think an overhead press or a push press, because when you're pushing off the line, you're not rigid or whatever.
So technically, the incline bench was designed for football players.
Incline.
Was it really?
Yeah, because when you look
military press.
when you look at the angle for a lineman to come up and explode up and then hit somebody in the chest,
You're pushing your arms up into the chest.
it's
pads.
literally the angle. So that's where the 45-degree angle bench came from for a bench press.
You know what the original incline bench press was like? What it looked like? It didn't have a rack, so it was an incline.
Oh, yes, right. You had to clean it.
You had to clean the weight and then lay back
on with it.
and then press.
That's right.
And now it's all racked up.
How ironic is it that would probably serve us better today,
Of course.
to have to do that, because then you less injury risk, right? Because you're not some young kid who actually has a big strong chest or whatever is not going to be able to clean 315 pounds to set back on the pitch, so he'd have to, and then think of how much that would have to develop the control that you'd have to get there. Like, it's funny how we do things. We evolve some things in the pursuit of thinking that it's going to improve or be a better thing, but in reality, probably set us backwards.
It's probably better for bodybuilding, obviously, but even bodybuilding,
no, you're right.
Ben Pekulski in his gym, he has an incline like that, which I think is superior for dumbbell press, because you got to clean dumbbells anyways.
Yeah.
I loved his incline, because you're kind of standing. You're not sitting on anything. You're standing. You're just leaning back. That felt amazing.
Well, and Ben is a very good example of how we should train as bodybuilders. I mean, he's very big, and if you can't control the weight through the entire range of motion, you have no business lifting it.
Yep.
So if you ever watch, his lifting, in fact, he's one of the few bodybuilder guys that I've ever seen like really adhere to, tempos and good rep ranges and keeping that the muscle tension the entire way through the entire movement.
Next question is from Moore Jojo. I've been at the same big box gym for 6 years, and many of the personal trainers have been training the same clients for at least that long, and their clients don't seem to have made much physical progress. Is it common to have clients who struggle to make progress compared to the transformations we see on social media? Do the clients and trainer play an equal role in making or not making progress?
I thought this was a really cool question to talk about because, one, it made me really reminisce training clients on a daily basis and having clients that were with me for years and years and really didn't see a lot of great.
Do you remember the growth that came from that? Do you remember when you had to realize, like, I can't just make people change all the time?
Yeah.
Do you remember that shit?
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one for me.
Yeah, no. There was a lot of growth that happened for me here. One, along the lines of what you're saying, and then two, also, I wouldn't consider myself a great programmer back then. I fell into the way I would do a program or write a program for a client was based off of creativity. It was, how can I definitely subscribe to the Craig Capurso box, which is everything is, workout programs are like ice cream flavors, and everybody has their favorite flavor, and it's just all about uniqueness and trying different shit. And, that was part of the problem. That was part of the reason why my clients didn't see, incredible results across the board. Now, I'm saying that knocking myself. I was still a very successful trainer. I still had lots of people with transformations, yada, yada. But if I'm being honest, a good majority of them, more than half of them, didn't see great results, yet I had them for years. And so part of that is what Sal was saying. I agree. And then another part of that was just being not that great of a trainer, because as I got further into my career, what I did find was even if I couldn't get a client to adhere to the nutrition piece, even if they were all over the fucking board eating wise, because that's another thing. You can't control that as a trainer. You can't control the other 23 hours a day that they are not with you. And if they have their own emotional issues with food and they have a bad relationship with food, that even if you are programming the best and their goal is to lose weight, they may never lose weight.
That's where the most growth happen, especially for me as a trainer, because you have to really understand that like these are human behaviors that are like ingrained every day. Like people outside of the gym is really it's a place where, okay, I have a certain amount of control. I have a control over this hour that I have with this person. And I prided myself in that. And I always was, as a young trainer, it was all about like the results, the end goal, like the goal driven. 100% was like trying to, show that like my worth as a trainer is what my clients look like, and like how much success they're getting. And, the growth in that is realizing, yes, you did have a percentage that would look awesome and you'd make a lot of progress, but then there'd be the other clients that your same methods did not apply to them, did not work, and you were not making any progress. And fuck, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? Now I turn my energy on they're the ones failing and I have to like fire them, or I have to address this because it's hurting my business, where, you have to understand that they're just at a different place in life. And then there's way more variables involved. So, as I grow as a trainer, I have to learn my methods and my approach with them has to change.
There's a big problem. And this is a big challenge with trainers. The big challenge is not understanding the priorities. Okay. So every trainer thinks that the priority is to get their client to lose weight, get ripped, build muscle, build strength, whatever. That's actually not true. That's not your priority as a trainer. That's one of the priorities, but that's not the top priority. The top priority as a trainer is to get your client to develop a lifetime relationship with fitness, exercise, and health. That's number one.
And nutrition.
All that. That's number one. Then everything else comes underneath that. Your goal is to get that person to develop a lifestyle that now includes fitness, that includes eating properly, that includes self-awareness with health, that includes prioritizing their own health. All those things. Now, what does that look like? That's a fucking long process sometimes.
Yep.
And you know what ends up happening? Because there's this attitude that a lot of trainers have that it fucks them and it screws up clients, where they get a client and they're like, I'm going to get you fit whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And if you don't get fit, we're going to have these come to Jesus talks every, whatever. And we're going to sit down and I'm going to be like, hey, why aren't you losing weight? What have you been eating? Show me your food logs. You're the one and they hammer the shit. And I know some clients think that that's what they want. And I know some trainers think that that's their job. But the big reality is you're going to be extremely unsuccessful long-term in getting anybody to really make lifelong changes.
It's so reflective to parenting.
It's exactly like that.
100% reflective to parenting, in that you're trying to teach these people to fish. You can't just do everything for them and hammer them about it, everything they're doing wrong, or you have to just plant seeds, and you plant these seeds for them to, oh wow, someday that seed is going to open up and it's going to turn into this idea that they had, and you're like, yes, finally.
The greatest testament for me it was after training people for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, some of them 12 years, and then not training them anymore, is I can still talk to them right now, call them, and I stay in contact. I've known these people forever, and guess what they're still doing? They're still working out.
Yeah. Right.
Okay? Because what you'll find a lot of times is trainers will train a client for 6 months, client will be gone, and this is a majority. There's a majority of clients, and they never worked out again, or they're spotty with it, or they never made those changes. That's how you know you failed.
Well, this is a small commercial break here. This is also why I knew that you were on to something so special when you first sent over, when you and Doug were, and this is 5 years ago now, when you sent me over the first, MAPS anabolic prototype of what you were creating. And, what I saw right away was the first program, in my opinion, that was really speaking to the masses instead of this niche group of or echo chamber of trainers that were putting out programs that really spoke only to other trainers, right? With these crazy elaborate 5 to 7 day a week programs. Like none of I had 1% of my clients would ever follow something like that long term. And, a program where somebody could potentially only work out 2 days in a week, and see change, like what would that look like? And let's first get them to commit to that. Let's first get them to commit to a 2 day a week full body type of routine and get them to execute the most important movements that will have the most amount of carryover into their everyday life and their body composition, which was exactly what you had created and wrote. And I thought, fuck yes, dude, this is what the industry was missing, instead of all this crazy shit that's being put out there that really is only for a small piece. And now look where we're going now, which I love about what we're doing. It's like, that doesn't mean that there's not a place for MAP Split or a place for MAP Strong, which are a much more narrow demographic of people that have gone through all the foundational type of training and built a good relationship with exercise, and they're consistent. And now, which is a very smaller amount of people, nobody was really speaking to the masses on like how they should train. And that's just the training piece. And then you talk about what we talk about with nutrition. Everybody wants to talk about get in their little boxes in their camps of, it's paleo, it's ketogenic, it's vegan. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah, drink more water.
Right. Right.
Let's start there.
Right. There's so many things that people just need to relax for a minute. And let's talk about the majority of people that we had to train in our career. And it's like, that stuff is way beyond what they need as far as information right now.
And I want to be clear. This doesn't mean that you baby your clients or you treat them like idiots. I'm very honest. So if my client comes in and I'm training him for 3 years and he originally hired me to lose 30 pounds and he's only lost 5 and the topic comes up, we're going to have a very honest conversation. I would say, hey, look, John, I know your original goal is lose 30 pounds and you're frustrated. I think you know why you're not losing that 30 pounds. There's a lot of things that you're not doing. Now, if you want to get that weight off, we can do that. Here's what you need to do. But if you don't do it, at least you're working out. But here's the information. You know where the responsibility lies. I'm very, just like Justin said, just like you are with your kids. You be very straight, very honest. I'm not bullshitting. I'm not telling somebody, hey, great job, you didn't lose any weight. No, hey, great job, you showed up. You're here working out. There's this one client that I wish I could take back. I wish I could take back how poorly I handled her. And this was early in my career where that I thought literally my job was, I'm going to fucking get you in shape no matter what. And this means I'm going to have to be an asshole sometimes. And this woman, she was working out with me and she wasn't losing weight and she wasn't losing weight. And I trained her husband and her husband would kind of rat her out. Oh, last night she ate cupcakes and last night she did this. And she was kind of not being honest with me about her nutrition. So I sat her down and I basically ripped into her. And I told her, I'm not going to train you if you fucking don't take this seriously, because my job is to get you in shape and you wanted to hire me and this is what you hired me for, blah, blah, blah. And she never came back. And I felt so proud of myself that I blew this woman out the door because I wasn't going to fucking have somebody hire me and not do what I tell them. Yeah. And then I thought about it and I said, wow.
Yeah. What did you do for her?
Yeah, she's
There's
probably
no breakthrough that happened.
She's probably nothing. Yeah. She's probably not working out at all now. At least before she was coming to the gym 2 days a week. And at least I could have probably bought myself more time to slowly help her make those fundamental changes. Because what are we talking about when we're talking about, exercise? Let's break that down for a second. When you're talking about activity and exercise, you're talking about anywhere between 2 to 4 days a week of structured exercise. On top of that, you're talking about a more active lifestyle. That is a huge commitment and change
for anybody
to your everyday life.
Right.
Okay. Now let's talk about nutrition. Even more difficult. I'm telling you how to change something that is a fundamental part of your identity. Yeah. I'm telling you to change it completely. You think that's going to happen in 3 months? No, that shit takes a long fucking time. Sometimes it takes me 5 years with working with a client.
This is why
it's their behavior.
This is why I love having like the staff that we have now. It's really exciting for me. Yesterday I was training Taylor and Enzo, and I was teaching them a Turkish get up. And one of the things why I love having, especially Taylor, because Enzo is definitely diehard Mind Pump fan, listens to every episode. He follows all the programs to a T. He's seen great transformations, yada. But Taylor, I love to talk to because he is not an exercise guy. He is not a workout, lift weights guy. He's in great shape. He's very disciplined when it comes to his eating habits. He doesn't eat bad. He keeps himself in good shape, but he has no desire to be muscular and look a certain way. He's just not that. So I love talking to him because, you know, he to me represents more of the majority than talking to one of ourselves. So, you know, one of us is like echo chamber talking about fitness and shit like that. So yesterday I'm teaching him a Turkish get up. And I was explaining to him why this is such a great movement. And I said, you know, and what you'll hear from some of our friends and peers is they will crack on this movement because it's, you know, if you're a bodybuilder, it's lame. If you're a strength athlete, it's overrated and pointless. There's better movements. But what I was telling him, I said, there's so many little parts to this movement that is so great. And it's a skill that what is great is you can come to the gym one day and literally do Turkish get-ups all day, like your whole entire workout, just Turkish get-ups, like practice the mechanics, break down all the steps like I did with you, and you actually will have a pretty damn good workout like that. Like it incorporates the entire body. And I said, for someone like you, and he chimed in and he goes, man, I love when you teach me things like this because he's like, you know, sometimes as much as I love maps, sometimes I just don't feel like even doing the whole program. Like, you know, and what should I do in days like that? And I said, you know, this is a good example of, you know, going to the gym doesn't have to be so over complicated. It doesn't have to be so razzle dazzle and these exercises are better than, it's like there's a handful of great movements, Turkish get-ups being one of them, squats, deadlifts, overhead pressing, that, hey, there's nothing wrong with going to the gym for the day and working on that movement. Yeah. And just taking your time, the entire workout, and performing the exercise and getting great at the mechanics. I think that I wish I would have thought like that as a trainer, you know, 10, 15 years ago when I first started, because I think I would have changed way more lives than being the trainer who had 8 to 12 exercises ready to go when they came in. And I said, hey, let's do this. And, you know, they sweat like crazy and they talk about how sore they were. And I'm like, what did I really teach this person? And what are they really going? One, what I was doing was I was really trying to set myself up for a sale. I was trying to make a workout so complicated that they felt the need to have me and buy more from me instead of...
Ironically, you got less clients because of that.
Right.
It's funny,
Where I think that if I could go back, I would talk to some of these clients and I would teach moves like this that are so beneficial, have carryover, and it doesn't seem so daunting. And that's what Taylor was saying, is just like, man, this is really cool. You mean I could just do this for a workout? Like, fuck yes, you could do this for a workout, and you're winning if you do.
That's funny you bring that up. I actually caught on to that towards the end of my career, just as far as learning a skill and, you know, developing that skill and what that really teaches you in terms of, you know, cognitive function and how that applies to your job, and how focus is, you know, a major part of working out as well, and being able to be present and go through that process and learn and acquire a new skill. What that does for the client's confidence, what carryover that has in their everyday life, getting stronger and moving their body in a particular way that they've never done before, and just highlighting those attributes and getting people to really buy into that, as well as just losing weight and just looking a certain way.
That's it.
Well, that and the other thing that was big for me, and I talk a lot on this show about, you know, just teaching a client to understand how much they move in a day. Like the step counter thing was like just mind blowing for me. I will change someone's life more by making them aware of their lack of movement through the day and teaching them small ways to create more movement through the day. Very, very small amount of more movement a day. And that the carryover for that is far more beneficial for their overall journey than me writing this elaborate program. And that took me a really long time to figure that out. And of course, it took me a lot of probably lives I didn't change and a lot of lives I've now changed going forward. And so I think as trainers, when you see this, you know, especially when you're in a big box gym, much of them are probably in their earlier parts of their career in the first 10 years. And it really does take, you know, what is it, 5,000 or 10,000 hours before you're considered a master?
10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 hours before that's a lot of one-on-one clients before you're considered a master in that. It absolutely took me that long because I needed to see enough people that I didn't really help trying to overcomplicate the process of nutrition and exercise versus, wow, when I actually just focus on some of the things that are more similar or smaller that I can just get them to implement, like Sal said, drinking water or taking a few more steps or taking a move like the Turkish get up or the squat and just getting good at that. Like, and if I could just get that through to these people, I would impact their lives.
You
forever.
are their guide, and your job is to guide them towards a lifestyle that incorporates more activity, fitness, better nutrition on their own. That is really the goal. And if you do that, you'll impact someone forever. And what I love about this most is when you meet other trainers who've been in the business for 10 or 15 years, who are successful that entire time, they all come to this exact same conclusion every single time. You meet a trainer who's been training for a year or two, and they all sound like we did early on. We're we're fucking. I'm super motivating, and I love yelling at my clients, and I get them all sore and make them sweat.
Yeah, and Susie lost 50 pounds, in like 5 weeks. You're like, wait a minute, whoa.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. So check this out. If you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can check out any of our free guides. The newest guide that we have out is how to squat like a pro. Go check it out, mindpumpfree.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.